Fiona. I was so looking forward to talking to you today because I recently myself, I lost my best friend, and she ended her life in a very tragic way. And she was only 31 years old. And also last year, I lost my mother. So I have been going through lots of loss, and definitely I felt like I was abandoned. Each of these things happened, and I'm just like at a place, feel so lost, like abandoned, and so much pain. So when we talk about abandonment, it's not just only physical, right? It's lots of times that it's to do with emotional feeling as well, right?
Absolutely, yes, yes, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. So yeah, it's really about, with traumas, it's really about the perception that we hold around the abandonment. And so when people, leave our lives for whatever reason, if that's, that someone passes on to the next realm, or that we split up from someone, it's about the belief that we give ourselves about ourselves and about in life, or about life in general. Also, yes, it can be emotional abandonment as well. A lot of us grew up in households where, mum and dad can still be together, but emotionally they weren't there for us, and so they couldn't meet us. I mean, how many times, how many people can relate to the fact that they were shut down when they were crying, and they were told not to cry, or I'll give you something to cry for if you don't stop crying, rather than, being able to meet us where we're at emotionally and ask us what's going on for us. And so that emotional abandonment causes the same abandonment wound as the physical abandonment. So, both parents can be together and they can have brought you up, but it's not about judging and blaming and shaming them, because the fact is that they just couldn't meet themselves. They just weren't able, and this is where the self-love comes in, and that, we need to love ourselves first. Because if you're unable to meet your own emotions, and you shut down your own emotions and pretend that they're not there, and, as a lot of us have been conditioned to do, then that causes the abandonment in us, the abandonment wound. So, and then we get into the people pleasing and the abandoning ourselves, because we don't want people to be leaving our lives. And so, we don't want to feel rejected, so we'll overgive because we want people to stay. So, so yeah, that's really big, really big. And it's also a very big process to get yourself back out of again, if you have been very conditioned to people please. But yeah, you are actually abandoning yourself in those moments. And also in relationships, it doesn't just have to be the like, we can, if things seem like they're coming to an end, then you can go into like the begging and pleading for them to stay, rather than letting life have its natural flow, and people come in and go in naturally.
I guess the big thing here is, lots of this trauma happened in childhood, right? Like happened because, like you were telling us the story about the, for some kids could be from the parents, the caretakers, I think it's extremely difficult when that happens during the childhood, because it's really caused lots of trauma. I guess that's the root cause for later in life, like when you're talking about when you are experiencing a breakup from a relationship, and then you're begging for the other one to stay because you just cannot be otherwise. Maybe you have like your brain is telling you not to do so, but emotionally you won't be able to handle it in a logical way because of the trauma that happened in the childhood. That we were talking about emotional trauma and abandonment.
Absolutely, yes. And so with the childhood stuff, it can be more difficult to get to those beliefs and to change those beliefs. If it happens later on in life, it tends to be slightly easier to change that, because when we're in childhood, we are in the theta state. The brain state is in the theta state from 0 to 7 years old. So that's the state that we'd put you into in hypnosis. So we're literally like sponges. We're absorbing everything, and everything stays in, because there's a like a barrier called the CCF, the conscious critical faculty, and that keeps all the information in stored. And so that's why we need to put you into like a hypnotic state, tap into that subconscious mind. So we need to slow down the brain cycles, or tap in through the meridian lines, which is what I do with the EFT. But with the hypnosis, it'll be through PMR. So I'll talk you down into a very relaxed state and get you to breathe and just concentrate on the one thing, and that slows down the brain cycles. And then we're able to bypass the CCF. So, you know, that's, like I say, things are very, very deeply ingrained if it's like from, you know, birth. You know, that's from, you know, that's when things are, but yeah, later on in life, it doesn't mean that we don't, you know, obviously, not to take away from anyone's pain, because obviously it's still so painful. But when it comes to rewiring the brain, it's slightly easier than it is for the children from birth that have experienced the abandonment.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I heard lots of great things about hypnosis. Can you actually do that like virtually, or it has to be in person?
No, you can do it virtually, yeah. And also I make recorded hypnosises that I give to clients. So I'll record it on my phone, and then I'll give it to them, and, you know, sometimes ask them to listen to it for a minimum of 21 days. You know, just to recreate, because it's the 21 days, isn't it, that we reform like new habits and stuff like that. So
yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, recreating new neurological pathways. So so I give them a personalized hypnosis and get them to listen to that, and it seems to be very you know, very good, life-changing. So it's just about rewiring, isn't it? So
that's wonderful. So, well, we talk about a relationship because I think attachment is really the key. You know, like so. I recently actually read a book about the title is "Wired for Love," and talked about attachment styles. It's really fascinating, and I was sold, like basically everything the book was saying. So, what for you, like, what are the different attachment styles that you think?
What I know about attachment styles is that there are 4 different attachment styles, and one is avoidant, one is anxious, one is secure, and the other is a mixture between the anxious and the avoidant. And so the attachment styles are created through the bond, or the lack of bond, that there was between us and our parents around, you know, birth, around when we're babies, like very, very young. And so that creates your attachment style. And so with the avoidant attachment styles, they seem to become very scared of people getting too close. So their subconscious mind will always push people away, and they want control of keeping people kind of at arm's length, you know, which is a shame, because, you know, sometimes in the conscious mind, we actually want, you know, we want to experience, you know, a very loving relationship. But it's like, you know, people get too close, and it's like, no, that's too much. And you'll just back away, because the subconscious mind controls 95% of our actions, so unconsciously. So and then you have the anxious attachment style, which means that with the anxious attachment style, it kind of means that you'll go into things just wanting the other person to want you. So rather than, so you jump into things really quickly, rather than taking your time, and, you know, like a secure attachment style would take their time and they'd be like, right, is this person worthy of me? And maybe multiple date to see, you know, which person, you know, is matching the values, and how they handle conflict, and can they have conscious conversations, and you know, all these things that, you know, with the anxious attachment style, it's just like, oh my God, they seem really into me, and all of a sudden you're in this thing like really quickly, and, you know, before you know it, you're very attached. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's a lot harder to get back out of, because obviously you've gone in like head first, and you know,
yeah,
and you're in there, and you're, yeah,
it's I think it's really, while we are developing a relationship, and no matter it's intimate or with the family or friends, and it's actually very important to understand what kind of attachment style that we are, or you know, the other person, and then to understand what is the best way to move forward, because like you said, this attachment style is really rooted back in the childhood, because our caretakers, because the environment we grew up, because the interactions with our caretakers. So lots of times it's just even we understand, like you said, from those people who try to avoid things. In the book that I read, they call it island kind of attachment style. So they are longing for intimate relationships, but they are not capable of doing so. But they feel extremely uncomfortable if the other person gets too close. They feel like violated of their space, and they don't feel safe and secure enough to really let that person get closer. You know, so they have their own rules and principles, and to a very particular way. But imagine if you are in an intimate relationship, and if you are like you said, a secure type of attachment style, and the other person is an island, and then it can be a big problem, right? And especially the one you talk about, actions type of attachment style, and with somebody who is island, who is avoid kind of attachment style, that is one person like wants more and more, and wants to be noticed, wants on attention, the other person will feel extremely uncomfortable. So I think understanding the differences is really a key, not just jump into, like you said, like, oh, I like that person's eyes or whatever, just some initial kind of attraction, without really going deeper to understand the things, you know, can make the relationship really work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 1,000,000%. And I can completely empathize with you know, I think I'm a anxious avoidant, because, you know, I'm 44, and I've never even lived with anyone, and I'm like, no, like, you know, it's so frustrating, because, you know, like you say, you do actually want to be with someone, you know, but as soon as they get close, then, you know, it's your ego mind that it will bring up all these things that you're like, oh no, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And so, you know, and so you go running, and I've actually got a group for runners, actually. So, you know, because then again, you're running, because we're all one entity, as it were. You're actually running from yourself, because your partner is reflecting you. So you know, we're supposed to be doing the work around our triggers and stuff, you know, our healing work. But instead of we're running all the time, then we're running from ourselves, essentially, because we're not doing the work. So, you know, I'm there doing the work, you know, and, you know, occasionally I judge myself, because I think, you know, God, I'm a therapist in this area, and you know, I'm sure everyone's waiting for me to find my love story, and, you know, but, you know, I've grown in so many other ways that, you know, now can have the conscious conversations, and, you know, that, and, you know, considering what I used to be like, it was very judging, shaming, blaming, trying to fix, change and save and all these things. And now I'm like, you know, oh, mustn't do that, oh, mustn't, you know, like, you know, you catch yourself doing these things and you're like constantly like pulling yourself out and doing the work, and you know, and you know, I can just see myself growing so much, you know, even though, but you know, I do believe that I am becoming much more secure, you know, and much more detached, and you know, in a healthy way. So I'm getting more used to people coming in and going again with the flow. So, which is extremely difficult for us to do as humans, isn't it? Because, you know,
you feel very uncomfortable because that's not how you were. No, that's not how you used to be, right? So it can be really challenging and uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. We do, you know, we can, you know, hugely grieve when people leave, can't we? You know, our lives for whatever reason, you know, if we haven't done the work, you know, if we haven't detached from, you know, in a healthy way from, you know, people, as it were. But yeah.
So like my friend that I was telling you about earlier, and she just ended her life in a tragic way, and she actually grew up in her childhood was like she had no father, and she did not know who her father was, and later on, she actually found out who her father was, and she went to go and meet him, and this person refused to accept her as a daughter. So she has always felt like she was abandoned. You know, it's like big time, right? And I think throughout her whole life, she had struggled with this abandonment issue. She felt like really just couldn't, you know, like be okay about it. So I think it affects her confidence, security. Like so later on, when she was in a relationship with other people, and that kind of you know experience, that kind of feeling, I think it has been always with her. You know, kind of like make it impossible for her to you know, to feel like self-worthy, you know what I mean? I did not really know what was the exact reason that pushed her off the building, I mean, by herself, but I know that how painful it has been, and the childhood experience, and like felt abandoned.
Absolutely, yes, yes, and you hit the nail on the head. It is worth. It is. It really affects our sense of self-worth, because, like I say, when people leave, it's that belief that we give ourselves about ourselves in that time, unconscious belief. And so, you know, a lot of the time it is, you know, I feel unworthy of love, you know, which is, you know, hugely traumatic, isn't it? You know, that's even giving yourself that belief is, you know, is traumatic in itself, you know. So, and it's, yeah, it's that belief that we're holding about ourselves, that, you know, and the problem is with the laws of the universe, the law of attraction, we'll keep experiencing things that re-trigger that belief in our experiences.
Yeah.
Until, you know, we work with that belief, and you know, yeah, it's you know, we just really have to do the work around, and it's not easy. It is a process, and the work needs to be done over and over. It's relentless. It's not just, you know, with particular scenarios like this, there's certain things you can go to see therapists for, and, you know, like stop smoking, you can go for one session, but with something so deeply that really, you know, affects a sense of worth, it's like you literally, you know, have to keep doing the work, and some people obviously, you know, feel very you know, it's very unfair in some cases that we have to keep doing the work around this, you know, but it's very important that we do, because, you know, because we are all whole, worthy and complete. We are, but it's just those beliefs that stand in the way, that say that we're not, and they're untrue. And so we really need to keep working with those, and shifting and shifting and shifting, you know, doing some self-inquiry. I don't know if you know of, do you know Byron Katie? No, okay, she's amazing. She does, there's a lot of her videos online, and sorry, on YouTube, and she has these questions they're called The Work, and you can download these questions. And so she will ask, is that question, like to do the self-inquiry and question your beliefs, you ask, is that true? And then your ego mind will be like, well, yes, of course that's true, because that's what I'm being told by my reality. But then you question, is that 100% true? You know, so, you know, like if you're feeling unworthy, and so you know, if you think about it, then it'll be like, oh, well, I do have sometimes where I feel like I'm worthy. Yeah, no, I am worthy of. And so you'll have that crack in, you know, and in that belief. And so, and then you ask, well, how is that belief affecting your life at the moment? And so you have a thing, and you're like, well, you know, it's affecting me in this way and that way. And then, you know, who would you be without that belief? And then you can think, oh, well, okay, I think I'll be like really calm, and well, I'll be living my life like a queen or a priestess, you know, without this unworthy belief. And then you're like, well, so how can you embody that going forwards? And so once you start to embody not having that belief, then with the law of attraction, you've actually stepped into a new vibration. And so if you can start to embody that that person without carrying that belief, then you can actually, you know, or you know, they say you can jump timelines. So you know, you're actually and attract different circumstances as well that are reconfirming that you are worthy. You know, rather than, you know, so her work's very, very powerful. I would absolutely recommend that you download The Work from Byron Katie.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I do believe that everything actually starts with a belief. Everything starts with a story, like what kind of a story we're telling ourselves. And that's pretty much our becoming a reality, because that's one of what we believe, who we are. So when you help your clients, what kind of techniques that you teach them that you can share with us to improve this situation?
Lovely, thank you. So I would absolutely 100% do the work from Byron Katie. I would absolutely recommend meditation as well, to help to connect to the self. So if you feel like you've been abandoned in any way, like emotionally or physically, you know, to go in and to really start connecting to spirit, which a lot of us haven't been taught how to do, and to, you know, really start to, you know, recognize when your self is saying, no, I don't want to do something. And instead of saying yes and people pleasing and self-abandoning, you start to listen to yourself and start to say, hang on a minute, inside, I feel that this is a no. And so that can be a whole process in itself as well, because then you have to deal with people, you know, being okay with you saying no. But, you know, it's about just very gradually pushing through and seeing circumstances as learning opportunities, you know, rather than, you know, with relationships and stuff, we can become very, especially with the anxious attachment stuff, you can get into like fantasy and stuff, fantasizing, you know, about a whole love story, but instead just seeing, you know, all of our relationships as learning, part of our learning. And so once we start to do that, we start to detach in a healthy way, and it becomes like more okay for people to leave again, because that's still part of our learning. So it's like, oh, what am I learning here? Okay, like they're, you know, not here at the moment, they may come back, you know, if they're still in this realm.
I really love that, because lots of times, like especially with the relationship, intimate relationships, it's we really fantasize lots of things. We add our own wants and needs and fantasize the whole thing, and not really. Like you said earlier, I really agree with what you said. It's like let it be, you know. It's really let it ride its own course, and really be patient, and accept the fact if it's not working out, right? What I'm talking about in this is not just only like love matters. It can be, you know, with friends as well, with family too, because we just subjectively add so much of expectations against the law of the nature, you know, like we just add we put the, how to say, our own desires and wants on the other person, and that person probably is not capable of delivering it at all. And then we get upset, and we get so frustrated, we get disappointed, we get even we feel like abandoned, feel like rejected, we feel confused, and even, you know, feel depressed, and it goes worse and worse. So yeah, so I think that's really big, is not just let your you know, like subconscious mind control your life. Just really step back and observe the whole thing, like you are the third person, and to understand the whole incident, the whole event, and maybe change your perspective, like you said, change your belief, you know, and have faith, and do your inner work, like you said, connect with the law of attraction, connect with your spirituality, really understand what is your real need and what there, instead of just a fantasized version.
Absolutely, yes, that is so, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely all of that, 100%. Yeah.
It's so but I think I have never experienced hypnosis myself, but I always wanted to try that. So with that particular technique, it can help the clients to kind of like how does that really work, you know, the process of hypnosis?
So basically, it's like what I explained earlier. So what we're doing is we are putting you into the very relaxed state, so that we can talk to your subconscious mind and get past the conscious critical faculty. So it's very much like a meditation, but it's slightly deeper. We relax you slightly even more, so that you're in and out of consciousness. And so we get you to like just listen to the one sound, which is the sound of our voice, and we'll talk you down for, you know, in a very relaxed manner. And then once we have you in a very, very relaxed state, we'll see, because, you know, your body will start to twitch as it does, you know, when we go into the sleep state. And so once people start to go down into that state, then we can talk to their subconscious mind, and everything gets absorbed like it would do when you're a child. So we're just rewiring, and then we give positive suggestions. You know, there's all sorts of different techniques, but you know, a lot of the time we give positive suggestions just to rewire the brain and how it's been wired from, you know, a young age. So it's just about, like I said, building the new neural pathways. And so have I got time to explain a little bit about EFT and matrix reimprinting? And so with EFT, we tap into the meridian points of the body, and so we can tap into the central nervous system and the subconscious mind quicker than we can do with hypnosis. And we tap down any intense emotions that you might be feeling that you brought into the session with you. And with the matrix reimprinting, then I can ask you to ask your heart, because your heart has all the answers for you. Nothing outside of you has answers. We all ask other people, don't we, for advice and whatever. That's actually given our power away, because we have everything inside of us. So if you have any questions, just ask your heart. And so I ask your heart to give me the first number that pops into your mind, and don't use your logic, you use your heart. And so we go with that first number, and sometimes people say, you know, but that doesn't relate, and I'm like, just go with it, and it always relates. We go into like a previous version of you, so we call them the echoes, and it's just your younger self at any age, and we go in with that person then in the quantum field, and I get you to change the memory around what happened, and get that belief. We get that belief, and we change that for a more empowering belief, or beliefs, you know, the narrative, like you say, it can be the meaning around what happened. And yeah, and we also get rid of that emotion as well, that we still carry in the in our auric field. It's still there, like, you know, all these younger selves that were traumatized are still, you know, vibrating on that frequency, and that also is attracting situations through the law of attraction. So that's why it's really important, if you want to become a conscious creator, that we go in with our younger selves and we start to eradicate those lower vibrations from our energy field.
It's really fascinating. I definitely have to try one with you and to experience. That's very interesting. Yeah. Thank you so much. Wow, you shared so much information, and I really appreciate your time and your knowledge. Thank you so much. So if people want to follow you on social media, how they can find you?
So on Instagram, I'm on heal_with_Fiona. And on Facebook, it's just Heal with Fiona. Fiona Robinson is my, my real name.
Perfect. I'm also going to share that, in the description as well. So make sure people can, contact with you directly if they have some questions. So talking about questions, our Facebook group live, there are some questions I see. So Patrick is my dear client. He asked about could hypnosis work on my autistic son, and he's nonverbal and he is low functioning. Do you think that could help?
That is a very good question, and I'm not too sure, if I'm completely honest. I would have to ask my supervisor. So I could always ask my supervisor and then get back to your client.
Autism kids, they are a very special group of people, like especially low functioning ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry. I would love to be able to answer that question, but I wouldn't want to, obviously just, so I can ask somebody who would know more about that for me, and pass the information on. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have more questions? Okay. That's Patrick says he has. He had a trauma, and so he had trauma during his childhood, and So Patrick, so Fiona is going to ask her supervisor, and she will come back to us about your question. And I see another question is when to seek help from professionals for attachment issues, for abandonment issues.
Wow, I would say as soon as you know that you have them, that I always recommend to do the work all the time. I see a therapist pretty much every week, because I really think that we should all be taking a lot more notice of our mental state of mind. It's a bit like going to the gym and working on our physical health. We should definitely be working on our mental health. But I obviously understand that money sometimes can be a bit of an issue. But I would absolutely 100% say that you know, as soon as you know that there's something going on, then to work with that in whatever way that you can. So, you know, if you can go to see a professional, then absolutely do, you know, and start to work through. Yeah.
It's very important to be able to work with a therapist. I mean, it's for me, it's so helpful. You know, it's like you said, mental health is so important. Just like we need to go to gym regularly, right? Mental health is an area that we need to pay more attention to, because I think the idea is that people think about, when we think about mental health, people think about like a serious problem, like suicidal, like more dysfunctional kind of problems. Actually, it's much broader than that, right? Because lots of times we just feel unhappy, like this kind of a problem is like abandonment problems, attachment problems. It can actually cause lots of troubles in our life. So definitely seeking for professional help, just to have somebody professional to talk to, address these problems, I think can help improve our situation big time, and improve the quality of life for sure. So yeah.
And we're all works in progress, aren't we? So, you know, it's like, you know, some people have this notion that therapists should be like completely, you know, fixed and healed and stuff. And it's like, well, no, because we're just humans, and you know, we're all works in progress. So as soon as something comes up, then I'm like, oh, what's this? Okay, like, let's do some work around this.
It's,
you know,
it's definitely is a progress. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's answer one more question here. Says, as parents, how can we avoid childhood trauma for our kids? Says it triggers abandonment issue. I think just asking that question, I so appreciate, like parents to understand that the environment that we provide our kids, and not just the physical environment, the emotional environment, which means the way that we interact with our kids, you know, it's so important, and lots of problems started with childhood trauma. And lots of times parents just think that we provide, you know, I provide food on the table, right? I provide you the education, whatever, and they think that's enough, which is really not true. So it's very important that parents to understand the importance of being a caretaker and really provide a very healthy environment, both physically and emotionally, for the kids.
Absolutely, because trauma gets passed down generation to generation if it's unlooked at. So it's really important that we, you know, look into what's going on for us, I think, you know. So yeah. But then, you know, we're not in charge of everyone's evolutionary journey, you know, everything's meant to be the way it is as well. So, you know, we don't have to blame or judge ourselves or anything, but, you know, it's just, you know, the work is there if we want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.